It was smoking for a long time as well. It's like, you know, a dead body, you know, consuming itself and burning down to death, you know.
The shadows cast by the Grenfell fire have not dissipated. They clog the corners of memory and live in the eyes of those who watched helplessly as the tower burned and those who made it out.
This is from my son. When he came home and he told me, "Get the hell out of there, the fire, the tower is burning, get out, get out." And he started crying. He went up and
Antonio
then he started coming
Roncallato lived on the 10th floor of Grenfell Tower for 27 happy years.
and shared, you know, good wines.
He was the second last person to be rescued from it when it
You
burnt.
see, the fire was crawling down.
His son, he says, his lifeline to the rescuers who would eventually come.
I was reassuring him that this is not my day. I have still so many things to do and so many things to say, and that I would make it out alive.
Those who did lose loved ones exist in a universe of if-onlys, their grief and rage searing itself onto the nation's psyche at a public inquiry.
I have flashbacks. I know they are just pictures in my head, but I can actually see people behind those windows.
Hissam Choucair lost his mother, sister, brother-in-law, and 3 nieces.
I don't see this as a tragedy. I see it as an atrocity. Because essentially, there is segregation between the rich and the poor. I think they call it a postcode lottery.
Oh my God, they're screaming!
The fire is thought to have spread with such terrifying speed because of the aluminum cladding attached to the outside of the building in 2016. Many Grenfell residents believe the council chose it because it was cheap. They say their safety concerns were ignored for years and that the cladding was mainly about hiding social housing considered an eyesore in one of London's richest boroughs.
We want here a certain sort of people, and then, you know, and the working class people, you know, you try to push them, you know, a little bit, but it's true.
The government here has pledged to replace the cladding on 159 social housing estates that have failed safety tests. The situation for private sector residential buildings is murkier. Residents of this block in South London, found to have had similar cladding to Grenfell's, were originally told by managers they'd have to pay for its removal.
So yeah, we all were very nervous and in a shock.
Anuj Vats and other residents protested. After a battle, the original builders agreed to pay, although work hasn't started yet. Vat says deregulation in Britain is part of the problem.
Government failed to give clear directions that how these buildings should be built and what the material should be used.
The tower that has stood like a tombstone on the London skyline for so long has again been covered in recent weeks, this time with white plastic sheeting and the green colours symbolising the Grenfell community. Antonio Roncallato would have preferred to see it remain uncovered as a permanent reminder. Either way, he says, the survivors will hold those to blame to account.
This is our battle, this is our aim. So to make sure that, you know, such a thing does not ever happen again.
That must be the legacy of the dead, he says. That and the extraordinary unity of purpose and sense of community that has grown up around Grenfell, despite the shadows and the pain. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Well, as you saw in Margaret's story, the emotions are still raw for a lot of people, including 2 13-year-olds who survived the fire. So in the days just after, they poured their pain into music. They wrote a ballad, then made a video to mark this anniversary.
I heard them scream, and I watched them shout. I watched Grenfell Tower burn down.
And we reached out to them, and they told us how that process has helped them to cope and to honor the friends they've lost. Have a listen.
At the time, it was only 3 days after the fire had happened, so it was all fresh in our minds and we had a lot of emotion inside us, so it just sort of just came out.
And it helped us because it's very therapeutic and it just got the weight off our shoulders.
'Cause I heard them scream and I watched them shout.
We feel upset, but also we feel very proud because we feel like we're doing justice for our friends and everyone else who died in the tower.